emceeing and to say thanks for all your hard work. I know some of you work all through the night. Yes, and just a reminder, Mr. Gilman, that we do not know if Minister is going to join us, but you look out in case she comes, and we'll let her in whenever she says she arrives. Oh. The gold burner here and myself on your machine.
All right, we're going live now, so.
All right. We're going live now. Oh, we're live. Yay! Festival time. Wonderful. Yes. Hello, Hazel. Sister Yamin. Hello.
Greetings, Sister Amina.
And salutations. Damien. But me not see you, Damien. I only hear you.
Yes.
Okay, you're sick. You're using tablet. All right. Miss A. Simpson, good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you, Dr. Blackwood Meeks, and to all our storytellers and the Jamaica Library Service team, and to the public. Welcome to this international gala. Looking forward to a great afternoon.
Thank you very much. I would love to see your face though, but you're not showing me no face. Enslow Laws. Enslow Laws don't have any camera. All right, who else is there that we want to big up? A big shout out to Scotland. Michael Kerrins, where are you? Michael Kerrins. Michael Kerrins soon come back. Millicent husband. Good day, Millicent. That's not Millicent husband we just said a while ago. That was Hazel.
You up there, the black one. Oh, well, I better not distract you. People are looking.
Mr. Hector Hall. Mr. Hector Hall is on. It look like Hazel of everybody's name. If I'm seeing you now, Mr. Gilman, can I see Mr. Who just asked me that? Mr. Damian Heritage? I'm not seeing, it look like Hazel name everybody. Because every time we call for somebody, it's Hazel, I bum rush the camera. Wow. Mr. Ken Corsby and Beth. Ah, yes, there is Mr. Gentleman, Mr. Damian Heritage. Right, is connecting and can't hear me yet. Okay, so the technical people will take care of that. Can we see Beth and Ken now?
Hello.
As in Ken Corsby. Ah, wonderful. Ladies and gentlemen, Ken Corsby is an elder statesman of Caribbean theater and a visionary of Caribbean culture, and one of the earliest persons who told me I could tell stories. Thank you, Ken. We're so honored that you have joined us. Thank you, Ben.
Good to be here. Good to be here. Good.
Thank you.
Sharon,
I'm expecting
Martin
that the people who are 7 hours ahead of us will join. I'm not seeing our South African storytellers.
Sharon Martin just joined.
Huh? So I'm hoping, maybe they've gone to the YouTube. In 5 minutes, we're counting down.
Just joined.
Pardon me, who just joined?
Sharon Martini.
Hey, Sharon, where are you? Can we see Sharon? I just saw Millicent husband. Can we see Sharon, please? There is Mr. Michael Perrin's picture, but I'm not seeing Sharon.
in Scotland.
Oh, she's
No, they're
connecting.
not in Scotland. I think they're in New York.
So all these people are part of your group.
The storytellers. I don't know.
I like, I have a friend that
Just
she
close
does.
the room and admitting them one by one.
I don't
4 minutes to showtime. And Nancy put on him hat and him coat and him buckle up him shirt. Mr. Rolling Kino, Mr. Rolling Kino, Mr. Rolling Kino, Mr. Bogle come. Anybody know that story? Well, Nancy dressed up in him jacket. And no, sir, you want Brata and the show not start yet? Brata come after the show. All right. Hey, Sharon.
Enough light. Silent.
Hey,
Hi,
Sharon. Prettiness. We see you in all your prettiful glory. What a beautiful space. Is she muted, Mr. Gilman? Hello, Sharon.
Hi, Sharon.
Hi, Sharon. It's not a ducky, it's we saying hello, Sharon.
Hi, Sharon.
Malembe.
Hey, Malembe.
Yenge.
Let me see.
Yeah.
Fiddling about here, people.
And for the people who are outside of Jamaica, Malembe is a greeting from the Kumina community. It's a real word, which we call African retentions from the Kikongo people. Malembe.
Dr. Meek,
Malembe.
Yes.
can we say Malembe to Miss Thompson as well? She's on.
Oh, Miss Thompson, Malembe. Me don't see her though. Miss Thompson, can you hear me? She's muted and her camera is off. So maybe she doesn't want us to see. Her microphone is on now. Miss Thompson, Malembe.
Hello, everyone. You can all see me.
No, not seen you yet.
Pleasant good afternoon and welcome locally and internationally. What's a mix we have this afternoon?
Yes.
The pot is nicely flavored and I look forward to an exciting afternoon. I noticed that Michael Herrings, is that it?
Yes.
All the way from Scotland just messaged me to say that he has in his family Maureen and Thompson.
Oh, wow.
The first that he's meeting, the two names combined. So I greet him very warmly as well. And we need to talk some more to see where this is going.
Right.
I wish for the afternoon to be one of great success. Amina and everyone, all the tellers, I know it will be, and I'm really looking forward to the offering. Again, pleasant good afternoon and all the best to everyone locally and internationally.
Thank you very much. 1 minute to showtime. I'm going to get ready for showtime.
Everybody's saying come read there.
That's good enough.
All right, so those of you who have the YouTube links and the Facebook links, please direct your friends and family now to YouTube and Facebook of the Jamaica Library Service. Please direct your friends and family to Rampoon Radio. Good afternoon, Delaware. It's 2 o'clock, showtime.
No man, not turn it on, turn it off. It make noise. Like that, I want it to turn off.
Come, Miss Claire, take the back of your head, my dear. Come this way, Miss Flo. Evening breeze up blow.
Dr. Mina Blackwood Meeks, founder and director of Entukuma, the Storytelling Foundation of Jamaica, and the recent recipient of the National Award of a Badge of Honor for her contribution to nation building through storytelling. Members of the Entukuma team, storytellers both locally and international, members of staff of the Jamaica Library Service, or online viewers, ladies and gentlemen, all, I extend a warm welcome to all of you on this the occasion of the Gala International opening of Anancy SOUNDSPLASH Festival 2020. First, let me congratulate Dr. Mina Blackwood Meeks for organizing the 2020 Anancy SOUNDSPLASH, appropriately themed Anancy website. The COVID-19 pandemic has restricted face-to-face group interaction, but thankfully, we're able to meet and share on virtual platforms in this new norm. The Jamaica Library Service is pleased to continue an excellent partnership with Entukuma Jamaica to host this 18th staging of this event. The JLS has been collaborating with Entukuma on this adventure since 2013. Libraries champion the stories which honor our past and draw parallels with the future. And so, our participation is well aligned with this festival. We thank the Entukuma Storytelling Foundation for continuing to highlight the importance of telling our stories as a means of preserving our heritage and culture. For it is our culture that defines our identity as a nation, and so our stories must be preserved as important life lessons to be told across generations. I am reminded of the African proverb which says that when an old man dies, a library burns, aptly underscoring the critical importance of knowledge and experiential transfer. The principal objectives of this festival include raising the profile of the oral tradition as a vehicle for curriculum delivery and value-based recreational activity, as well as promoting opportunities for storytelling both locally and globally. Our public libraries, in their own way, contribute to the hosting and sharing of stories through our programs, such as the Little But We Tell Our, Parents Reading with Babies and Toddlers, Story Hour and Storytelling Clubs, our flagship program, the National Reading Competition, and of course the many workshops for writers and storytellers that are hosted. It is worthy of note that National Storytelling Day and Universal Children's Day are both observed on November 20th, and we are delighted to have children from various institutions and communities participate. Now that the events of the festival are virtual, we look forward to sharing with a wider audience, both local and international. We thank Dr. Meeks, all storytellers of the foundation, and the international tellers for their significant contribution to this festival. I also want to acknowledge the work of Jamaica Library Service team in coordinating the activities from the parish libraries island-wide. And so, as I close, I invite you to participate fully in the intriguing offerings over the next few days. I now turn you over to Amin and Sean, who will give you an overview of the festival. Thank you.
All right, so Dr. Meeks, kindly share with us where this concept of Anancy SOUNDSPLASH is coming from.
It comes straight out of the head of Anancy, right into my ears. That we need to preserve our storytelling tradition, that we need to understand the value of stories to national development, to personal development, to community cohesion. So the idea has always been there. Peter Tosh used to say that, not write no song. You just go there one morning, a song a go and you just pick down a song. So I just went out one morning and the idea was there and I picked it out, that we need to have a festival which takes the stories into schools as education, which takes the stories into colleges as workshops, which takes the stories into the arena of national development as conferences and workshops. And so we started to do that in 1998. In 2012, we rebranded the festival so that we could make a different kind of contribution to our independence celebrations. In that year, Jamaica turned 50. And when we rebranded, we came to the library to say, will you be our partner? In a real way, the library has always been our partner, because back in the day, between 1998 and 2012, we would go around the country and make stops at various schools, but also make stops at the library. And so the library is our home. And when I was little, I used to come to this library every Saturday and listen to stories. And Uncle Noel used to come and tell us stories. So stories belong in the library. And recently, as you may be aware, we signed an MOU with the library to establish structured storytelling clubs in schools, in libraries. And recently, as you may be aware, we established an MOU with the library to establish structured storytelling clubs in every library. I am saying every library. I know that the Jamaica Library Service has almost 1,000 libraries. So I mean parish libraries and community libraries and mobile libraries, but we know we can only start with the parish libraries, and when those are strong, then we can replicate in best practices. It is our aim to have a structured storytelling club in every single library in Jamaica.
All right, that is absolutely brilliant, and I think it's a natural partnership that has developed. All right, so for this year's festival, we're expecting an 8-legged event. Could you share with us what we might expect for this year?
Okay, so all the festivals have 8 legs. Anansi have 8 legs, and that's why they named Anansi SOUNDSPLASH. But we're so excited about the reality of having to go online. It is teaching us so many things about how we can reach the entire world. Anansi is global, you know. Anansi have the original World Wide Web. It's just that we are just discovering that Anansi have the original web. And so the theme for this year is Anansi website, SIGHT. So we can examine and investigate and celebrate all the places that Africans have been, all the places that we have taken our stories, all the friends that we have made. And so we have friends in South Africa, in the United States, in Mexico, in Costa Rica, in the Cayman Islands, right around the Caribbean, in India. Our first festival had tellers from India, from China, from Dominica, from Barbados. So it really is a celebration of all of that and a bringing together of all the skills and talents that are now being revealed through COVID, because of COVID, so that we see how we can maintain the global presence in the years to come.
Thank you. That is an awesome concept, and that is absolutely important for the development of our culture.
Great Anancy is the king of our imagination, bringing stories with the light of the ancient Africa. Great Anancy is a griot, a chantuel, a calypsonian. What a wonderful delight is to hear her stories. Like an enormous spider web, she weaves her stories, and the grandpa and the kids, they all love what there's to hear. Great Anancy is the king of our imagination. Anancy is the wonder of creation. Anancy is the king of our imagination. Anancy is the wonder of creation.
Greetings, everyone, and welcome to ANANSE SOUNDSPLASH 2020. Hey, Dr. Mix.
Hi. I'm excited. That was a beautiful, beautiful. It was so exciting with all the storytellers arriving in the library bus.
Yes.
Thank you very much to the bus driver. Boy, I'm feeling good. I'm going to keep quiet now, people, because the co-host for today's activities will be Mr. Jerry Neil Richards and Mr. Sean Thomas. I will only interrupt because I like to interrupt, but they're running the show today. So over to you, gentlemen.
Greetings, Amina. Greetings. Thank you, Amina. At this point, we're happy to be here. I'm Sean Thomas.
And I'm Jerry Neil Richards.
All right, so at this point, we want to acknowledge the support of the Ministry of Culture, Gender, Entertainment, and Sport in making ANANSE SOUNDSPLASH 2020 possible.
Wonderful, wonderful. All right. So right now we're going to story, and we have lots of stories to tell, and I know you're all bubbling to listen, to relax, and just to drink in all these stories from across the world. I know you're happy, I know you're excited, and we won't keep you waiting any longer. Sean?
Right now we have a story.
I need it, May.
We'll go to our first story at this point.
Good evening. My name is John Mukeni Namari. I'm from Kenya, and I would like to share with you the story of Fumo Liyongo from our Kenyan coast. Welcome. Po 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 po, arewa rewa, po 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 po, arewa rewa, yule ndiye popo, ala maembe pekee, amebaki kutubwagia kokwa, ala maembe pekee, amebaki kutubwagia kokwa, ala maembe pekee, po 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 po, arewa rewa, po 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 po, arewa rewa, mwambieni popo, ala maembe pekee, amebaki kutubwagia kokwa, ala maembe pekee, amebaki kutubwagia kokwa, ala maembe pekee. Our story, the story of Fumo Liyongo, begins with the words of this same song. This is because a long time ago, among the Waswahili of Pate Kingdom, Fumo Liyongo uttered these words of this song that have never been forgotten until today. In these same words, Fumo Liyongo, for the very first time in living memory, challenged the forces that had oppressed his people over many generations. But after Fumo Liyongo composing this song, Popo, things changed, never to remain the same again. Po 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 po, arewa rewa, po 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 po, arewa rewa, mwambieni popo, ala maembe pekee, amebaki kutubwagia kokwa, ala maembe pekee, amebaki kutubwagia kokwa, ala maembe pekee. But who was Fumo Liyongo? Fumo Liyongo was born a prince in the house of rulers among the coastal kingdom of Pate. It was during those forgotten times when even the Arabs and the white people had not yet set their feet at the coast. The blood of kings and princes flowed through his own veins. Unlike any other child, Fumo Liyongo was a resident in his mother's womb for 9 months. And on the day when he was going to make his grand entry into this world, a team of midwives and attendants was seen busy moving in and out of the house where the expectant mother was in labor. Uchungu ewa mwana aujuae ni mama mzazi, amepata shida nyingi na mashaka, miezi 9 utadhani mikaka. And after pangs of pain, groans, torrents of tears, 4 annulations greeted the skies in succession. A baby boy had been born. Hongera mwanangu we, hongera, nami nihongerewe, hongera, hongera mwanangu we, hongera, nami nihongerewe, hongera, mama uchungu, hongera mwanangu hoya, hongera mwanangu tumolo dereni na umamnowe haya. And after 3 days, the baby boy was brought out to have his first encounter with life. A finger dosed in bile made contact with his tender tongue to make him aware of the pain of living. Also, in addition to land on his inexperienced tongue was a drop of honey to introduce to him the sweet things that life offered. Fumo, he was named, meaning strong spear. Ayo, ayo. His eyes glowed as if daring the world for a challenge. They looked at him and named him Liyongo, the brave vanquisher of every challenge the world would dare confront him with. Ayo, ayo. Fumo Liyongo grew up into a giant of a man, walking over 8 feet tall, with the strength of a fully grown male buffalo, and the energies contained within his bulging muscles could only be equaled with the sharpness of his mind. In the field of target shooting, Fumo Liyongo never missed anything that was placed half a mile away with his arrows. What about athletic races? Fumo could only be rivaled by the wind, because whenever he confronted his competitors, Fumo Liyongo will lead them to run fast, the likes of the Rudisha from Kenya, the likes of Gabriel Selassie from Ethiopia, Even Usain Bolt from Jamaica, he will leave them to run fast, raise dust, pant their hearts out. And whenever they were just about to reach the finishing line, Fumo Liyongo would blast like thunder and lightning through the tape, beating them all. In war and combat, 1,000 men never faced Fumo Liyongo for a fight and live to tell the story. Fumo Liyongo's arms always held 9 spears at a go, which he threw at once, spraying enemy warriors with death. Now, Fumo was born during the reign of King Daudi Muringwari, who had oppressed his people entirely. But after Fumo Liyongo composed this song, Popo, things changed, never to remain the same again. Thank you.
Am I the only one who noticed John backdrop? Boy, that looked just similar to the Jamaican bandana. But guess what? It's not only the fabric that binds us, you know. It binds us not only in spirit, but it's in heart. I'm going to tell you a story. If you want to hear the laugh, if you want to hear the laugh, go a Riverside Sunday morning. Man do laugh, ahoy. Oh, man do laugh, kem. If you want to hear the laugh, go a Riverside Sunday morning. Yes, there was this man who always come to town to sell his ground provision at the Coronation Market downtown. Yes, man, that very market where most of Jamaican persons from all over hustle and bustle from every parish to come sell them ground provisions. Now, this man used to do this all the time. And on this particular afternoon, him coming with all him load and him pack up and him sort out him stall for Saturday morning. No, him always go outside and try and find all the nice young girls. But guess what? This man, he was a womanizer. Him used to always try to find all kind of young girls. But guess what? Them kind of things they're not supposed to happen. We don't tolerate them things, you know. And as Jamaicans, we believe that family must stay together and a man must have one person. No, and them evening now, him get dressed nice in him lens, him put on him clocks, and him look very boastificated. In Jamaica, we say him look very boastful and bashy, and he is a dapper. So him put on him top hat, man, and him go all the way out on the front, right in front of the Darling Street police station. Now, that police station is right opposite to the market, Coronation Market. Now, when him look down the road, him see a nice young girl coming. No, she had long hair flowing down to her back, and she was, as they call in Jamaica, a browning, a nice, pretty girl who was very nice and very good looking. Now, as the woman moved closer, him observe her even more, and he tries to hit out at her. And as in Jamaica, some of them would say, in looking the girl. Now, as she approach him closer, man, me say, the man now start to fix up himself, brush off him collars, and he start to look on him clocks, and he start to touch it. And he said to her, "Psst, nice baby, come over to my side, man. I want to have a word with you." But the poor man never knew that the woman was a dopey. As we mentioned earlier, spirit devout. If you want to hear dopey laugh, that was all the thing that was ringing in the man's ears. And the woman, she was a dopey. And a dopey, you know, they have a very deep kind of a sound. We call it a nasal sound. They talk down into their throats. So as she come closer to him, man, the man said, "Lady, you don't want to have a word with you. I want to take you out to have a drink," and so on. No, the woman start to kind of give in to him, and so she answer, "Yes, baby, I can go out with you later, but you have to come over to my place." Poor man was wondering what was happening, because he was never asked to go over to another woman's house. No, she lived right across the street. That area they call Tivoli Gardens. Now, it is a place you call a tenement yard. That means whole lot of persons live into that yard. And therefore, you had some fast neighbors who want to pry into people's business. Now, as he approached the yard and he was on his way, persons start to move their curtain and they start to look out at him. Now, the woman just escort him down to her quarters. Now, a very nosy neighbor next door was peeping through a window and she saw what was happening. So the woman bring the man into the house and she asked him to stay. And she said to him, you know, I have a errand to run, you know. I want you to stay inside here until I come back. And after I'm done, I will come back to you. Poor man never know what was happening. And then the nosy neighbor come over now, man, and said to the man, you know, it's a dope, you know. I want you to put the mortar in the corner into the bed middle and throw the sheet and put the pillow there and cover it over like smaddy. Now the woman know the dope coming down, man. Splish, splash coming down the hallway. And when she reached the door, she bust it wide open. The poor man was standing behind the door. And when him look, he see her just dash herself into the bed. And all you could hear was splash eye. All of our bones mash up. And he said from that day until now, she make her way all the way you could hear her singing going to Maypen Cemetery. Mr. Mac, Mr. Mac, Mr. Mac. Me dead one time and me dead two times. You know what? That woman should have followed Amina and us 16 years ago when we started out on our journey, when we traveled 7 parishes the whole week. And joining with libraries as we tell our story. And from that day, all we can hear the woman singing and it ringing. Mr. Mac, Mr. Mac, Mr. Mac. If you want to hear the laugh, if you want to hear the laugh, go a Riverside Sunday morning. Man the laugh, ha ha. Umando pilaf kem kem. If you want to hear the pilaf, go a Riverside Sunday morning.
In the parish of Manchester live 2 brothers. One was so tall and big that they named him Big Barrett. The little brother was short and thin, and his name was Sammy. The people in that particular part of Manchester said Big Barrett had special powers because of the things he used to do. Big Barrett had a way of going trespassing on people's property and taking whatever he felt like taking. So one day Big Barrett went to Mr. Logan's farm, and when he went to Mr. Logan's farm with the donkey, with the 2 hamper, he picked mangoes and he picked mangoes and he picked mangoes and he picked mangoes. And then Mr. Logan come up and say, yes, I catch you now. So Mr. Logan lock the gate man and go and get the police. And when Mr. Logan come back with the policeman, feeling very happy with himself, you know, when him look, there was no Big Barrett. So he look and look and look and look again. Still no Big Barrett. And the police them said to Mr. Logan, Logan man, how you make me waste with time? I think you say you're locking the man. And Mr. Logan start wonder what happened. And as Mr. Logan looked to the east, he couldn't believe what he must see, because there he saw Big Barrett, and he had to wipe his eyes and shake his head and look again, because when he looked, No Big Barrett him see, and Big Barrett just take up the donkey with the two hamper and put the donkey with the two hamper over. And from that day, people said Big Barrett had special power. Them even said there was another time when Big Barrett go court man, because Big Barrett always a trouble people thinking and will go into the court. And one day, just as the judge was about to pass sentence, them just said Big Barrett goes up and just jump through the window. And when Big Barrett jumped through the window, everybody in the court said, whoa, him dead now, him dead now, him dead now. So the policemen, they take their little time and go down. And when they go down, them not say Big Barrett. And when them look up the road, a Big Barrett, them see a room. Big Barrett continue doing all him antics. Big Barrett continue stealing until them say Big Barrett go steal from the wrong man. He go steal the man cow, and the man do something to the cow. And that is why from that day afterwards, Big Barrett just got weaker and weaker and weaker and remained in his home. And his home was also interesting too, because him never live in a house. Him live in a cave. And the cave where him live in had bed, had dresser, had everything. And when you go there, him even had curtain on the window. And them say, what a thing. What a thing. Something can really go so. And Big Barrett himself, wherever he went, he would tell the story of how him just lift up the donkey with the mango and all the other things them way him do. So from that day until today, you can go and find out more if you want to about Big Barrett, the amazing man. Chapman Dora, me not choose now.
Hey, thank you, Hazel. And also thank you, John and Damien, for your 3 amazing stories. Wonderful.
At this point, we want to say thanks to the NCB Foundation for their support in making Anancy SOUNDSPLASH possible.
Thank you, NCB.
And we will go into
who is coming next? Punchinella Little Fell. Who is coming next? Punchinella Little Fell. What can you do, Punchinella Little Fell? What can you do, Punchinella Little Fell?
You believe in dubbies? Not that kind of duppy. I'm talking about the kind of duppy that calls your name. When you know you're the only one in that room. What about the duppy when you're sitting on the sofa reading your book in peace that comes and sits right next to you? And you know it's there because of the strong smell of perfume. Or that duppy that makes you run just a little bit faster. When you take that footpath home, you know that shortcut in the pitch blackness. You know that duppy? The one you can feel inching closer to you. Or maybe you've seen a duppy. One that is a big glob of black nothingness in the middle of the road that has a strong magnetic pull that sucks you straight through it. You ever had that experience with duppy? Oh, I could tell you about duppies. But maybe you need to know about the kind of duppy that you invite home. Yeah. The duppy that you call to you. Innocently. A long time ago in Kimmonbrack, on the north side of the island, there was a mother and a son who lived in a small cottage. Daddy had gone off to sea, so it was just the two of them. A little boy named Heke was like any other boy. He loved to go fishing. He loved to make things with his hands. One day in particular, he came home with a beautiful guava wood gig. You see, he had been collecting guava wood from around the cottage. And he was able to carve out this most beautiful present for his mother. As he presented it to her, he said, "We have to try it out, Mommy, we have to try it out." She was busy preparing his favorite meal, steamed fish with stew bread fruit, and she had already made a sweet cassava stretcher. That night was a special night, you see. They had not long moved to this cottage because Heke had grown big enough to deserve his own room and his own bed. As they started to spin the gig, they laughed. There was a lot of joy that filled that house. Heke spun and spun and spun that gig round and round through every room in the house. The gig seemed to take on a life of its own, spinning to and fro and back and forth and in and out and under the bed. Heke was truly impressed, as was his mother. This was a very special gig. They cleaned up quickly, put the gig down, and had a wonderful dinner together. Heke thought, "I just want to spin her a couple more times before bed." And he went ahead to do that. As he wrapped her up and let her go, the gig just seemed to sing and spin around. It almost seemed as though he had a friend in the gig. The gig knew exactly which way to go and how fast to spin and just how to slow down right next to him, as if to say, "Spin me again." But then it was time for bed. And Heke went to his room after cleaning up, knelt down and said his usual prayers for a good manga season, to catch that old pompous Jack, boy he fast, and for me to find some more real good guava wood, because I gotta make some more gigs. He almost said amen, but then he remembered Mama always said to thank the Lord for something. And I thank the Lord for Mommy, and I want to keep Daddy safe too and bring him home soon. Amen. Into the bed he went, with a little kiss on his head from his mother, and he wrapped up in his quilt. Heke was just between wake and sleep when the room filled with a glow, and all he could think was, "Boy, the moon must be shining bright tonight." But it soon became apparent that that wasn't the case. You see, a tall, dark, slender figure just came right through his door. That's right, right through the door, which was closed. And soon this tall, dark figure turned into the shape of a man, a tall man with straight dark hair and a long nose and thin lips and big ears and long, long, long old arms and long, long old fingers that just seemed to reach towards Heke. And Heke's eyes blazed open like this, and he thought, this is a nightmare. This can't be real. And when he saw those long figures reaching towards him, he screamed out, "Mommy!" But those fingers kept reaching until they almost touched his precious guava gig sitting on the night table. But his mother who immediately felt something in her spirit change, dropped the dishes she was washing, clink, and ran straight towards the room. Boom, 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 till she reached the room door and... But as she opened that door, that tall, slender, dark man floated straight through the other door on the other side of the room, which led directly to the outside. What is it, son? A man was in my room, Heke said, trembling. He looked back at the Guava Gig and picked it up quickly and put it under his pillow. His mother went to the other door, tried to open it, but it was locked. Then her eyes opened and she realized what had happened. She unlocked the door, opened it, and looked outside. But it was a serene night. She shut the door back and she lay in bed with Heke. They moved from this house a few years later. And many, many moons after that, Heke overheard fishermen down along the rocks talking about the haunted cottage on the north side of the island, and he knew instantaneously it was the home he had spent some time in. They spoke of a man who lived in the house, who met an untimely death. Cause of death? Guava Gig. Apparently he had slipped on one and fell. Never recovered. Apparently he and his son collected a lot of guava wood in their time, and they carved them and they sold them, and they even gave some away. And it became clear to Heke what had happened that night, the night he spun and spun and spun his gig. What do you have in your house? Just waiting on an invitation. The peace, and us living side by side. The peace, and us living side by side.
Hello, Jamaica. Hello, Mexico, Panama, and the rest of the world. I'm very happy to be here today. The first time that I saw Amina Blackwood mix with Ananse stories was in 2016 at International Storytelling Festival in Edinburgh, Scotland. I remember that in a meeting, I approached to Amina Blackwood, and I don't know why, really, I don't know why we have a special connection this afternoon. We talk and talk and talk. So 2 days later, when I saw this woman on a stage with a storytelling show of Ananse stories, I can't believe it. Oh my God, it was a great experience because the stories of Jamaica, its roots, its custom, I feel all over my skin and inside me in the voice of Amina. I told myself, oh my God, this woman needs to go to Mexico. And 1 year later, we invite Amina to our festival at Palacio de Bellas Artes in Mexico City. The people love her. The people love Jamaica through the Ananse stories. Was an incredible experience. 1 year later, I go to SOUNDSPLASH Storytelling Festival in Jamaica, and I enjoy it. Really was a great experience with the children, with the public, at the libraries. I enjoy the Jamaican food, it's great. I enjoy the beauty of the islands, but above all, I enjoy the smile and the kindness of the Jamaican people. Thank you for this experience. And today, I'll tell you one of my favorite stories, a little insect, a fun story that I tell in many parts of the world. This is the story of Clarinda. And you may ask, who is Clarinda? Clarinda was nothing more and nothing less than a pretty little ant born in Vienna. Yes, Clarinda was the daughter of the great ambassador of Panama in Austria, and Clarinda, the pretty little ant, loved to dance. But Clarinda had a big problem, that in those high society parties in Vienna, they only dance waltz. And Clarinda, the pretty little ant, couldn't stand that. Tra-la-la, la-la, 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 tra-la-la-la-la. She couldn't take it and couldn't stand it. Clarinda's blood boiled from head to toe because what she wanted is to move around, to shake, to dance salsa, merengue, guaguancó, or reggaeton, and not those old waltz songs. One morning, a magazine arrived at Clarinda the Ant, a magazine with pictures of the Caribbean. And Clarinda, the pretty little ant, the moment she saw those pictures, said, I want to go there now. That same day, during the afternoon, there was a big storm. And when it ceased, Clarinda, the pretty little ant, went out to her backyard, and there, on a raindrop, she saw her reflection and said, what a beautiful I am! How gorgeous I look! How stunning I am! I even have a wasp waist. I don't even look like an ant. Immediately, Clarinda, the pretty little ant, took a pink geranium's petals and fixed herself a short skirt. With a saffron twig, she made a headdress, and with a petit pois cut in a hat, she made herself a bra. She looked wonderful. Very happily, Clarinda walked the street of Vienna from here to there and all around, when all of a sudden another star hit. And Clarinda, with nothing else to do, went and hid under the tree. There, all lonely and sad, watching the raindrops falling down, she started to sing. Lindo capullo de alelí, turururu, si tú supieras mi dolor. Ay, 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 when suddenly Clarinda, the pretty little ant, witnessed a watery stream carrying a paper boat. It was headed straight for Clarinda, who didn't think twice before jumping right on. The boat went into a sea and into a river and into the sea, and from the sea to the ocean. Yes, and in less 2 weeks, Clarinda was sailing in the Atlantic Ocean, ladies and gentlemen. 6 days later, she may land in Panamanian coast. Yes, and she hadn't even walked a 100 meters when Clarinda, the pretty little ant, heard the sounds of the drums and flutes and began dancing. Panameño, panameño, ay, panameño, vida mía, yo quiero que tú me lleves. She walked a little more and arrived at Ant Hill Bar. She entered, beautiful. She sat at bar and ordered a daiquiri. And while she enjoyed her delicious cocktail, she turned around and saw him. A beautiful Panamanian black flea that Clarinda, the pretty little ant, when saw him, say, what a beautiful black flea. What a beautiful puppy. I want him to my boyfriend. When the Panamanian black please. Notice Clarinda, the pretty little ant, moving her hips that way. His jaw dropped to the ground, ladies and gentlemen. And since then, Clarinda, the pretty little ant, and the black Panamanian flea fell in love and lived happily forever.
Malembe! Welcome to Storytime Sing-Along in the Mud Palace Gallery, Africa Village, the one and the only dutty, that soil in Shui and dung hand-built gallery by the sea, filled with one-of-a-kind art, craft, goodies and gifts, all made by hand with love in Treasure Beach, St. Elizabeth, Jamaica, by me, artistic diva, Sharon Martini, Auntie Shasha, aka Yaninga. Picking up my son from preschool one afternoon, this little girl came and stood before me and stared. You know how children can stare at you and you start to wonder if you have boogers falling out of your nasal passages or callaloo in your teeth? Finally, I said, "Hello. Are you Moses' mummy?" Yes. Can I touch you? Living as long as I have lived in this skin, I felt that I had a good idea as to where this young lady wanted to go, and I was not about to go with her. Luckily, Spirit popped in and whispered loud in my ear, "Sharon, maybe you don't know exactly what this little girl wants." So I exhaled. Okay. And she came and she rubbed my arm, and then she rubbed her own arm. Then she closed her eyes, touched my arm again, and touched her own arm. And she skipped off down the corridor, stopped, spun around, and this little girl was beaming. I mean, it was as if she were lit from within. And I realized in that moment that she had never touched delightfully dark skin before. And in her infinite 4-year-old wise woman wisdom, she knew that she needed to close her eyes to eliminate all those teachings, all those things that would have blinded her from touching the truth that skin is skin is skin, no matter the color. Now, I went home that evening and I wrote about that experience. It touched me so much. And that became a book, Max and Me, my children's picture book. That is a story about friendship. It's a story that highlights our differences and celebrates our similarities. It's ultimately a story about love. This is me. This is Max. Max and me are best friends. Max and me are cute. We love to make funny faces. Can you make funny faces? Max and me have 2 hands. Mine are brown, his are pink. We use our hands to race cars and beat on bongo drums. Max and me have brown hair. Mine is curly, his is straight. Our mummies cut our hair. Ew. Max and me have knobbly knees. Can you see my knees? We have owies on them from climbing trees and scaling fences and sliding on the floor. Max and me have bright eyes. Mine are brown. His are blue. We use our eyes to. What do you use your eyes to do? Hunt bugs in the garden. Do you like bugs? Max and me have big feet. We use our feet to jump and dance and kick footballs. Some of you might call those soccer balls. Max and me have long arms. We use our arms to hug. I love you, Max. Give yourselves a hug. Though I no longer remember her name, that young lady and I are forever tied together in one lesson and distinct teachings, resulting in one love, a book, and a song. Do you like to sing? Let's sing the song. What color are you? You're the color of love. Written by me. What color are you? What color are you? You're the color. You're the color of love. Brown hands, pink hands, do they touch? Do they feel? Do they hold? What color are you? What color are you? You're the color. You're the color of love. Does a heart beat inside of you? Does a heart beat in rhythm with this world? What color are you? What color are you? You're the color. You're the color of love, of love, of love. Visit me online at sharonmartini.com for more information and to purchase my Dottie Beetle books. Little picture books, big in joy and colorful characters for all humanity's children.
Welcome back.
We want to thank the storytellers, starting with Sharon, who just gave us a story, Max and me, and Sharon is from Jamaica.
And Ruben, who is a unique combination of Mexico and Panama.
And we also want to thank our first storyteller, Rita from Cayman. And now we will feature the Kingston and St. Andrew Parish Library.
That story about
Yes, right, we're getting.
Welcome back
to Anancy
SOUNDSPLASH.
We have more stories.
More stories
from the Jamaica Library Service.
Yes.
Yes.
It's story time, story time, story time, story time, story time with Miss Lou and Auntie Queenie. Okay guys, today I'll be sharing with you a story about Anancy and Sorrel. Once upon a time, and it was coming down to Grand Market, and the people them in the village start cut their crop and pack up them donkey to go to the market. And Nancy no have no crop to plant to pack up because he didn't plant any. So the eve, the Grand Market Eve, which would be Grand Market Day, and the people then pack up them things, put them things in a them basket to go to the market to sell the following day. Brother Anancy start to think, and him think of a way to get some crop. So you know what Anancy do? When the people them have one market, Grand Market Day, here Anancy to everybody, Happy Grand Market Day, Happy Grand Market Day everyone. So the people then tell him, Happy Grand Market Day, Anancy. As the people them back with a tons up, Anancy hooks off in the people them feel, and in search and in search and in search, and he couldn't find a thing. Then he go over one field and he see a pretty little red plant. He said to himself, but wait, oh, they left this a pretty thin thing so. This a pretty little red thin thing so. Poor Anancy never know what. He cut down this stalk of sorrel and he run through the market. Cause he might go sell to you and find something. So he run through the market. When he go in the market now he see the people them. So here, I have something to sell, I have something to sell. The people then buck up on Anancy and they realize that him no plant nothing, so them a wonder how him get that pretty little thing because sell. You know what Anancy do? Anancy run through the market with the stalk of sorrel on his shoulder. And the police after Anancy and the people them, and them a shout out, thief, thief, thief. Oh no, catch him, catch him. So Anancy run go a woman's stall and see the woman have her pot of water and make amini porridge by the fire. And Nancy just pick off the sorrel them and throw in at the pot. And the sorrel did a brew and a brew. Then here Anancy a sing. It smell good, it smell good. Just add a little ginger, add a little sugar, add a little pimento, and it will good. And then tell them say it's red wine. So when it brew now and he mix them there and he put everything in it and he get the people them for taste. Me say, the people then say, oh it tastes so good. So from that day here Anancy, it is Anancy tastes it and realize that it tastes good too, because it's their wine, you call it wine. So him say it is so real, and he start dance so real. So the people they hear him, but they don't hear when he say good. So everybody shout sorrel, sorrel, and from that day until now, that red plant we drink every Christmas is called sorrel. Jack Mandora, me no choose none. Anancy.
What can you do, Punchinella little fell? What can you do, Punchinella little fell? We can do it too, Punchinella little fell. We can do it too, Punchinella little fell. Who is coming next? Punchinella, little fella. Who is coming next? Punchinella, little fella. What can you do, Punchinella?
Escape from Limon, a short story based on a tale by Calypsonian Walter Ferguson. My mother sent me to Limon, to my aunt's house, to live there and learn a bit of music and piano playing. She was a wealthy woman and could afford to pay somebody to teach me. Me, coming from Coweta, I did not like the big port Limon. Too noisy and disturbing. Besides that, my teacher never liked me. He beat me up with a ruler because I did not read the music score. I only play by ear, memorizing that tune. I love music, but not the painful way I had to learn it. So one day, I decided to escape from Limon and go back to Coweta. I told myself that if I follow the shoreline south, I eventually get to my little and beloved hometown. So one day I started my journey by the Caribbean Sea towards Coweta. At first, everything was cool. The beautiful sea to my left side and the green forest to my right. But when darkness came and the night surrounded me, I felt intimidated. I was only 7 years old and that dark forest scared me. I was lucky to find a little house built on top of poles to protect from humidity and floods, a perfect place to hide myself and spend the scary night. From under the house, I could hear an old woman complaining and coughing, and some kids trying to comfort her. One of the boys found me under the house, and I asked him to keep the secret. He was a nice person, so he gave me something to eat and some water. Early next morning, I returned to the sandy trail over the white beaches of the Caribbean. Kept on going, but all of a sudden I found myself in the middle of a cemetery. I noticed there was not a sound around, and that deep silence made me feel very strange. Surrounded by crosses and tombs, I started to think of spirits and ancestors, hoping the good ones would be to my side, but fearing some nasty ones would interfere in my way. I decided to run as fast as I could, not being aware that spirits don't deal with time or distance. Anyway, I got away of that place without looking back. On my way south, I could listen to the howling Congo monkeys from far away up in the trees. I could see different colorful birds flying around, different kinds of crabs running away from me and getting into their holes in the sand. I would entertain myself by whistling some old song I learned from the old Jamaican musicians that lived in Coweta. Come back, Liza, come back, y'all, wipe me tear from me eye. That afternoon, I saw a man fishing, and I stopped to see him do his work. He asked where I was going. I told him, and he said, the jaguars sometimes come to the beach, and I'm dangerous for a young boy like me. He took me to his house, where his wife cooked a tasty rondon with fresh fish. I had a good time at that house. The next day, the fisherman and his wife convinced me to get back to Limon. He offered to take me back in his cayuco. So by that time, I realized I might not make it alone to Coweta. So I accepted the offer, and we sailed back to the port. It was a nice day. A calm sea and dolphin jumping to the side of the boat, saying hello to us. He left me right in Cienegita, where I could walk back to Jamaica Town, where my aunt lived. I still did not want to get back there. So I asked a Chinese man that owned a restaurant to let me work there, cleaning, and to give me a place to sleep. I cleaned the whole place, not realizing the man knew my aunt. So, after all that cleaning, the police came and took me back to my aunt's place. She was very worried and held me tight. So I explained why I escaped, and then she promised to send me soon back to Coweta, where I belong.
Coweta is a beautiful place. Everybody knows. Come and listen to the Negro radio singing calypso. Coweta is a beautiful place, I say. Everybody knows. Come and listen to the Negro radio singing calypso. Bing bang, bing bang, bing bang, bing bang. Wherever I be, wherever I go, I want you to see they call me the master of calypso. Welcome to Coweta town. Welcome one and all. Drink your rum until you tumble down. What it is at all. Welcome to Coweta town, I say. Welcome one and all. Drink your rum until you tumble down. What it is at all. Coweta is a beautiful place. Everybody knows. Come and listen to the Negro radio singing calypso.
Howdy everybody, how you do? As I stand here right under the ackee tree just tell me which story to tell you now. Now this story is about two sisters. One, Brenda, and the other, Nora. Now Brenda was a very kind little girl. And Nora, a very mean child. I don't know how this child means so. Now, their mother wanted to cook ackee and saltfish for dinner. And you know, ackee and saltfish is our national dish here in Jamaica. Yes. So now, the mother called the girls and told them, come girls, I want you to go over Mass George farm and beg him some ackees. Take up your baskets and go and pick some ackees and take back for dinner, because I want to cook ackee and saltfish. The girls complied. They took up their baskets and they journeyed on to Mass George farm. Now Mass George farm, they near one ball field and one whole heap of car they close. And we hear whole heap of sound when they pick ackee, you know. But to get to that farm, you have to cross a dry river. Now this is no ordinary river, you know. This river can sense if you're mean or if you're kind. Now, if you're kind, it allows you to cross over once and then to return. If you are very mean, it allows you to only cross once. Now, these girls were allowed to cross the river and they went over Mass George farm and they picked ackees and they take off ackee off of the tree and put in them basket. And when they're ready to return, the kind sister Brenda, she led the way. So she kept walking to the dry river. And as soon as she set foot in the river, she heard the river start to sing. If you no give me one ackee, you no pass ya. If you no give me one ackee, you no pass ya. If you no give me one ackee, you no pass ya. Dry river go come and wash you away. So Brenda, being the very kind sister she is, she had the basket in her hand and she said, okay, fine. She took an ackee from the basket and she placed it in the dry river. She was allowed to cross the river. So when she went over, she was saying to her sister, it's okay, Nora, you can always just give them one, just give the river one of the ackee. Mommy ready to cook the dinner, just hurry up. Nora stepped in the river and she was not having it. She held on to her basket And she said, me not giving the river none of my akis, not me and it go pick it. Me not give none. So now the river starts to sing. If you no give me walkie, you not pass ya. If you no give me walkie, you not pass ya. If you no give me walkie, you not pass ya. Dry river go come and wash you away. So now the sister heard this and said, give one Nora, give one. Give one Nora, give one. Give one Nora, give one. Dry river go come and wash you away. Nora decided not to give the river any of her akis, and she held on to the basket. And now the river coming by her knees, and the river start to sing. And the river sing, if you no give me walkie, you no pass ya. If you no give me walkie, you no pass ya. If you no give me walkie, you no pass ya. Dry river go come and wash you away. Nora decided she's still not giving up any of the aki, and the sister begged Nora, and the river sing, and the river climbing up to Nora's waist, and the sister beg, give one Nora, give one, give one Nora, give one, give one Nora, give one. Dry river go come and wash you away. And Nora still held on to the basket, and the river start come up to Nora's shoulder, and the river start sing. And Nora decides that she not give the river none. So Nora have the basket up, and she tip it up, and she have it up in it, and the river sing. If you not give me walkie, you not pass ya. If you not give me walkie, you not pass ya. If you not give me walkie, you not pass ya. Dry river go come and wash you away. Brenda starts to cry because she see now the river is coming up to Nora's nose, and she said, give one Nora, give one, give one Nora, give one, give one Nora, give one. Dry river go come and watch you away. That didn't stop Nora at all. Nora still had the basket up in the air. The river there, Nora knows. And Nora kept saying she nah give none. But you can't hear it so clearly because she's in the river. The river cover up her nose. So now the river sang one last time. If you not give me walkie, you not pass ya. If you not give me walkie, you not pass ya. If you not give me walkie, you not pass ya. Dry river go come and wash you away. All of Nora's akis went straight into the river. But did the river wash away Nora? No. All the river wanted was just one aki, and it got more than it bargained for. So it went back to its normal, dry state. Nora learned a valuable lesson: to be kind and to share. Now, I have a beautiful friend from South Africa who would love to share her peace garden.
Sanbonani, I greet you all the way from eThekwini, Durban, KwaZulu-Natal in South Africa, and I wish you a fantastic festival out there in Jamaica as we reach back in time to the stories that our ancestors used to tell. This is an old story about a boy called Tulane. He was gentle and quiet like his name. He loved taking care of his father's herd of cattle. His father had so many cattle, and when he had had his breakfast and he'd go down to the river for the cattle to drink, he would walk across out to the hills where the cattle grazed. All the other boys went with him, of course, and they enjoyed themselves playing games out there, having fun. But sometimes they looked at Tulane and they thought, he's not so well, this one is a bit slow. They teased him, and they decided to go and do all the other things that they were not allowed to do, like going to the most dangerous pools down on the other side of the mountains to swim. And it was always dangerous. Something could have happened to them. But they said, you stay behind. You take care of the little insects that you're always playing with. Why did they say that? Because Tulane was so observant. He was always watching ants as they came. in their 20s, 30s, hundreds, and following each other, going to find food. And they would come back, sometimes carrying loads twice the size of their tiny little bodies. And they would go into their nests. Nobody was lazy. All the ants working together, always working together. And he thought, if we as human beings followed this example, we could achieve a lot. Sometimes he'd watch spiders as they worked intricately, weaving their webs between little branches out in the bush. And then the following morning, if it had rained or there'd been some dew, there were little droplets caught in the spider's web. And he would watch the morning sun would shine through. It was like tiny gemstones or diamonds caught in the spider's webs. And he thought, the miracle of nature. What clever little creatures these are. He always thought there's something he could learn from tiny animals like these. Other boys came back. Oh, Tulane, you're still busy talking to spiders, are you? They laughed at him. He was never offended. He was fine. He enjoyed living his quiet life. One day the boys had gone and left him alone again. He sat under the shade of a tree, and an old man who was walking looked like he had come from far. He came and said, "Young man, can I share the shade with you?" Tulane said, "Yes, Mkulu," meaning grandfather. And so the old man sat with Tulane. He had white hair and white beard, and he had a leather bag. Out of the bag, he pulled out a little stick. The stick looked like any other bamboo stick. And then the old man took and put it in his mouth, started blowing, and he played beautiful music. Tulane was awed. He couldn't open his eyes wide enough. And the old man noticed how he was looking at him, how he was moved by the sound. And he taught him how to put it in his mouth, where to close the different holes, where to blow and make a melody. Tulane was taught 1, 2 songs, and he was so happy. And when the old man prepared to leave, suddenly Tulane's eyes got glassy. He wanted to cry because he knew that this music he had so fallen in love with was about to leave. The old man smiled knowingly. "You don't have to be sad. I'm gifting you with this bamboo flute, and it is called umjingo. Enjoy it, young man." And the old man was gone. Tulane couldn't wait to take his kettle back down to the river to drink and to his home. And after supper, he took the bamboo stick, umjingo, put it to his mouth, and he began to play. His parents were shocked. "Tulane, what is that? Where did you get that beautiful stick that makes such stunning music?" He told them, "There was an old man who came past. He taught me how to play 1 or 2 songs, and he gifted me with this music. And he calls this instrument umjingo, the bamboo flute." And so that's what Tulane did. Every evening he would play, and neighbors came. They brought little gifts, and mother cooked big meals, and people said, "Sing, Tulane, play." And people loved what he did. And often now, people were talking to their boys, "Stop being so naughty. Why can't you be like Tulane? What is wrong with you? Can't you be like Tulane? Be a quiet, respectful young man and make music. Bring joy to others." And the boys were irritated to be like Tulane, that foolish thing who talks to spiders and ants. So they got so jealous after a while, they decided early one morning to come and steal Tulane's flute, which he always kept under his pillow. And they ran, shoved it in the sand at the river bank, and they ran away, tried to fall asleep at home, pretending as if they are fast asleep. But you don't close your eyes like this when you are fast asleep. Their parents got them out of bed. "Go take care of the cattle." And a young woman who was going to fetch water at the river was shocked. "Ma Meshane, what is this?" There was something growing as she was watching. It was growing. It was not corn. It was not millet, but it was like, I don't know what. He didn't know it was not bamboo. It was growing fast, taller and taller. And the woman was terrified. And girls who came to fetch water, to get water at the river, they also saw this thing. They broke the branch and they looked. Water was coming out. It was sweet. And they were chewing it. boys came to ask, what are you doing? They said, try it very nice. And they were chewing and chewing. Mothers and fathers came to join until the old people who had seen the young boys who stole Tulane's flute running to shove it at the riverbank, they said, when you want to hide something good, it will find a way of coming right up, like the music that this young man was sharing with the whole village. The sweet music has given us this new thing that we can eat now. We call it umoba, sugarcane. We shall call it umoba. That is the sweetness of the melody, the sweetness of doing good and sharing what is amazing and a wonderful gift with others. And Tulane's mother used to sing, Utulani wetu, Utulani wetu, uyaisha ingoma, uyaisha ingoma, uyaisha ingoma, uyaisha ingoma. If you are doing something good, other people discourage you, don't stop. Play that music. Make that contribution in society. It will always bear sweet fruit for many generations to come. That's where I rest my story.
Hey, welcome back. We promised you a lineup of international storytellers.
Right, and that was Jacina from South Africa.
Yes, and we had Tammy from Jamaica.
And also Manuel from Costa Rica.
Wonderful storytellers.
Right. At this time, we will take a pickle break. Now, internationally, persons might say snacks, but in Jamaica, we call it bickle. So our storytellers will take a break and we will be right back.
Yeah, man, enough yammings.
Yes, man, food time.
See you soon. Bickle break. Take your snack. We'll be right back. So this is where we all get some food to eat and
yes.
Something like that.
And you know, we eat that good if we have some coconut drops and some tomato.
Yes, you know, I like and some sweet potato pudding. Listen, you see when the little slaw up on top, yes. And it just looks so mellow and
yes. And some coconut water.
May I tell you if you just wash it down.
And some sugar water.
Yeah, man.
Try to keep us down, scatter us all around, to diverse parts of the earth, hoping we'd waste away. But no matter what they do, no matter what they say, all I got to do is harambe, harambe. Hear what I say, harambe, harambe.
That's great, that's great, that's great.
Welcome back, guys. Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed your snack. Wow, that was a well-deserved way to just cement down the stories in our head by taking care of the belly. Wonderful, wonderful stuff so far. International storytellers at their very best. And that pickle break, that snack was fantastic. Thank you, storytellers, for taking your break. And now we're going right into some more stories. More stories.
We also have persons joining on the YouTube feed, and they are enjoying the stories so far.
Yeah, just want to highlight Carlene, who is thanking Sharon for reminding us that even though we may look different, we are all the same. Thank you for those kind comments, Carlene.
Okay, so the stories coming up right now, we'll have a story from Edgar, a story from Jean Small, and also from Story Crafters.
Stories are really interesting.
Yes, these stories are interesting.
So you just have to pay attention to them and just enjoy what the storytellers have.
Definitely, definitely.
Okay. So really looking forward to these stories.
Yes. And our viewers on YouTube are enjoying.
Okay, so right now we're going right to our stories.
How are you doing over there? This is Edgar Ortiz from Costa Rica, sending this story from my heart to all Jamaica. And this is the story of the great king, Akbar. It is said that this King Akbar lived in the north of India in the 16th century. And this is true, he really lived there. And they say that he had a great friend and counselor called Birbal that was all the time on his side. And he was very smart, like Anancy the spider. Yes, yes, yes. So every time that something happened, good or bad, to the King Akbar, his dear friend Birbal came and said, don't worry, my dear king. Everything happens because of reason. It happened one day that the great King Akbar was in his kitchen preparing a meal and cutting some vegetables with a big, long, sharp knife. He caught his thumb, fell down into the floor, and his thumb started walking away. And then his friend Birbal was hearing all this, shouting from the great King Akbar, and came and, ooh, don't worry, my dear friend Akbar. Everything happens because of reason. And the blood was just all around the kitchen and on the floor, and the finger was still running away. I had no thumb. What do you mean everything happens because of reason? And Akbar was so upset, so angry, really hungry, and he said to his friend Birbal, no, to see if everything happens because of reason, you gotta go spend a few days in the dungeon. That is really dark, humid, and sad to be there. Okay, my friend Akbar, it's okay. I stay a few days in the dungeon, no problem. And a few days later, the great King Akbar, like usually every week, he used to take his horse and go riding his horse into the mountain and the forest. And then, suddenly, he was surrounded by these savages from the jungle. What is going on here? And they spoke this language that the great King Akbar could not understand. But he can understand one thing. They had really bad intentions. And they took him into the village, deeply into the jungle. And then they were preparing a sacrifice. A sacrifice, yes. And they were cutting heads for the sacrifice. And they were doing this sacrifice for the goddess. And they were preparing the space now to cut the head of the great King Akbar. So they brought him here into the floor. They put his head down in a stone. And on his side, this big and strong executioner got this long axe. Big, sharp. And when the executioner was ready to chop his head, and Akbar didn't spoke the language, but he could understand what was going on, and he could understand that the executioner was saying, "No good. He's incomplete. He is no good for the sacrifice, no good for the goddess. Let him go." And when the great King Akbar understood what was going on, he said like, he thought his head was still there. So he said, "Now I'm free." He jumped into his horse and with his 9 fingers started running back into his castle. And thinking, "Oh, my great friend Birbal was right. Everything happens because of reason. Because I had no finger, I still have my head. And I do prefer to have a head than a finger." When he came into the castle, he called his friend Birbal. "Take him out of the dungeon." "Oh, my dear friend Birbal, you were right. Everything happens because of reason. Because I cut my thumb, they didn't cut my head. And yeah, I really prefer my head than one thumb. I still have another one. Oh yes, you see, my friend, everything happens because of reason. But tell me one thing, oh Birbal. If everything happens because of reason, why do you spend all these days in that dark hole, that dungeon, sad and lonely?" "Oh, my great friend Akbar, I tell you, everything happens because of reason. Because if I was not in the dungeon, I was going to be riding my horse with you. And if they didn't cut your head, they will be cutting my head. So I prefer to be there in the dungeon these days. So you see what, my dear friend Akbar, and my dear friends over there in Jamaica, why? Everything happens because of reason."
We are so delighted to be part of this. We're happy to be with you, but we would really like to really be with you. You know, feel the warmth of the people, the warmth of the sun. Well, we're feeling warmth here. We're feeling the warmth of these lights that have transformed our little dining room into a storytelling stage. But we're flexible. We're all flexible, and we're delighted to be here in whatever way we can be with you. We are going to tell a story now, a story that I heard growing up from my dad. Barry heard it in different places, in Europe and other places. It's a world folk tale. It's a story that's from China, from Japan, from Eastern Europe, from my tradition. And it's a story that we both love. It's a story that kind of beats in our hearts all the time, but has been really prominent in our hearts and minds now, during this time when our country is going through so much tension and just in a world that is feeling so much challenge. And so it's a story that we feel compelled to share now. And to do that, we are going to bring in my little harp, and here we go.
A story about a monk. A monk who, for his entire life, had been searching and searching for the answer to one question. That question was, what exactly, 100% without a doubt, was the difference between heaven and hell? For his whole life, he'd been searching for this answer, and he'd done everything he could to find the answer. He'd read about it, he'd prayed about it, he'd meditated about it, he'd done everything. He'd talk to other monks and say, what do you think the difference is? And they'd say, well, I think it's blah, 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 blah. And then he'd say, all right, so when was the last time you were there so you can prove it to me? Because he didn't want to know about faith, he didn't want to know about belief, he wanted to know 100% without a doubt what was the difference. So for his whole life, he'd been searching. For his whole life, he'd never found it. Till finally one day, he was sitting in his cell, his room in the monastery. His back was to the doorway. He was facing the wall. He was concentrating, just as he'd done for his entire life, on that question. What was the difference between heaven and hell? When all of a sudden, this now very old monk felt a presence behind him in the room.
And before turning around, he knew that the one who was there was no monk, but he was pretty surprised to discover who was there. It was an angel. And the angel gazed down upon him and said, for your whole life, you have been searching for the answer to one question. What is the difference between heaven and hell? Well, I've been sent here today to show you. And then the angel turned and left the monk's cell.
Well, the monk wasn't going to let this angel get away. This could be the one chance to find out. So the monk stood up and he ran out of his room into the hallway. But when he got out there, he found himself not in the hallway of the monastery, but instead he found himself at one end of a long, seemingly endless hallway that just disappeared off into the distance. And he could see that angel going further and further and further away from him down that hall.
Well, he wasn't going to let the angel get away from him. This was the chance of a lifetime. This was the goal of his lifetime. And so he followed that angel down that hallway. But as he walked, time stopped having meaning. He didn't know if minutes passed, if days passed, weeks, kind of like the wait people had to do in the United States for the results of the 2020 presidential election. It felt a little like that, but finally, he approached the end of a hallway. And the angel stopped there in front of two doors. One door had a sign on it that said, heaven. The other door had a sign on it that said, hell. And the angel said, let's take a look at hell first, and opened that door.
And when the door to hell opened, the first thing that the monk noticed was a smell. But it wasn't a bad smell like you're probably thinking right now. It was actually a fabulous, delicious smell of a stew cooking in a pot. You know what it's like when you're in your house and your favorite food is cooking? when we come down there, one of my things that I always have my nose looking for is Rundown. That's my favorite. Just remember that next time we're there. But it doesn't matter what it is. See, and for the monk, that stew, just the smell of it swept over him. And he could think about nothing else but sinking his teeth into that stew.
And so he gazed around that room, and it was right in the middle of the room. There was a great cauldron. It was cooking over an open fire, and the stew was bubbling out over the top. And when the stew bubbled out, it would land in the fire all around. It made the stew smell all the more pungent. Oh, he needed to get that stew. He was overcome with this desire, and he was about to step into the room when he noticed all the people. I mean, there were wall-to-wall people. Everywhere there were people, one after another. And the thing is that every single person in that room looked angry. Every single person in that room grimaced or scowled. Now, the monk couldn't understand. With such delicious food to eat, it made no sense. And then the monk saw why. He noticed that every single person in that room had metal bands around their elbows and long-handled spoons strapped to the end of their fingers, so that no matter how many times they dipped their spoons into the stew, they couldn't bend their arms and get the delicious stew into their very hungry mouths. And the angel said, "Now this is hell," and shut the door.
Then the angel opened the door to heaven. And when the door to heaven opened up, the first thing that the monk noticed was the same smell, the stew cooking in the pot. It swept over the monk. And once again, he could think about nothing else but sinking his teeth into that stew.
He looked around that room. And once again, he saw that same cauldron, or the same type anyway. It was cooking over an open fire, and the stew was bubbling out over the top. Smelled so good. And there were people in that room too. Wall to wall people everywhere he could see. And in this room, every person also had metal bands around their elbows and long-handled spoons strapped to the end of their fingers. Only in this room, every single person looked happy. Every single person in the room was smiling. And then the monk saw why. Because in this room, every single person there had learned to dip their spoons into the stew, turn and feed the delicious stew to one another. And the angel said, "This is heaven," and shut the door.
Welcome back. And now we're going to go right into what's called a banter, announcement of what's happening on Sunday. And you are all invited to come online and share in the experience. Remember, it's not a one-day event. Right. It goes throughout the week, so you need to stay tuned, look at your flyer, stay tuned, because along with the stories comes with other things that you will enjoy, that will benefit you immensely. So Sunday it is again for another section, another segment, and of course we have going right throughout the week, so stay tuned. Okay, right now we have...
Yes, we're going into a segment now of banter, where the storytellers will be having a little chat.
But before we go into the banter part, we're going to go right into our tributes, right? Yes. And story by Amina. Whoa! So we've got that lined up right for you. So enjoy, relax again, and just ready yourself for an immensely powerful story from Amina, as did the other storytellers and our tributes. Right over to you.
So, Jerry, which story have you enjoyed the most so far?
Guess what? I'll keep it a secret until we come back.
All right. And I have enjoyed all of them because some of these stories I've never heard before. So I'm enjoying the stories.
Okay. All right. So right to our tributes.
A long time ago, there was a man who had 4 sons, and each boy had a very special gift. The first boy had the gift for reassembling anything which had been broken. The second boy, he could turn any garment into flesh. The third boy, he could breathe life into anything. And the fourth boy, well, he should have been called Adam because he had the gift of giving everything a name. Now, this man was a hunter. And one day, as hunters do, he went off hunting. And one day became 2. And 2 days became many nights. And many nights became many valleys. And many valleys became many mountains. And many mountains became a long, long time. And they didn't see him come back. And so they presumed he was dead. And they had all of the funeral rites, the 9 nights, the setup, the burial, and they forgot about him, except when he left, his wife was pregnant. And in time, she gave birth to a 5th child, who also turned out to be a boy. And as this boy grew, he realized that everybody in the village had a mother and a father. Only him never had a father. And so one day he said to his mother, "Where is my father?" And the mother told him the story. He went off hunting. He didn't come back. We thought he was dead. We had a funeral, and here we are getting on with our lives. And that little boy was furious. He was so angry. He was so sad. He was so distraught that his brothers decided they would go off to find out what really happened to their father. And they were gone for 1 day. That became 2. 2 days, that became many nights that became many valleys that became many mountains that became a long, long time. And one day, when they were down in the valley, the first boy thought he stubbed his toe on something, but he kept on walking, and he stubbed his toe a second time, and the third time he said, "I wonder where I stubbed my toe upon." And he went back and he looked, and it was a toe bone. And he picked it up, and he looked some more, and it was an ankle bone. And when he looked around, the entire valley was full of bones, like the railroad of bones scattered at the bottom of the Atlantic. And he picked up that toe bone. Find the toe bone connected to the ankle bone, and the ankle bone connected to the shin bone, and the shin bone connected to the knee bone, and the knee bone connected to the thigh bone, and the thigh bone connected to the hip bone, and the hip bone connected to the backbone, and the backbone connected to the shoulder bone, and the shoulder bone connected to the neck bone, and the neck bone connected. And when he was finished, the bones had a shape as if it could have been a human being. And the second boy said, I'm going to put my jacket on these bones, which appear as if they want to be rattling. And he took off his jacket and he put it over them bones. And the bones were covered in flesh. And the third boy said, I think I want to breathe. I think I want to breathe into this thing. And the chest heaved. And the fourth boy, he looked at that thing and he said, me, I think I want to give this thing the most important name a man can have. I think I want to call it Daddy. And that's who it was. And them bones rattled, and them bones started to walk around, and they took them bones home, and they had a great celebration. They had found their father. And at the end of the celebration, the father said, you know, when I went out hunting, I found a treasure. And I want to give it to the boy who did the most to bring me back. Well, you can imagine the pasa, the great confusing argument, like a Tower of Babel. All the boys were advancing the reasons as to why they had done the most to bring their father back. And a long time ago, when we had a problem like that, we would refer it to the Council of Elders. And so they referred the problem to the Council of Elders, and the Council of Elders told them what to do. So one day the father called all his sons and he said, you know, I'm so happy that all of you worked together to bring me home. But this treasure will go to the fifth boy, the boy who remembered to ask for his father. You see, we are never dead as long as we live in somebody's memory. We are never dead until the last person calls our name. And as long as we remember, we can wake up them bones scattered like a railroad of bones at the bottom of the Atlantic. Find the toe bone connected to the ankle bone and the elbow bone connected to the shin bone and the shin bone connected to the thigh bone. Bones, 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 bones.
Well, thank you for that enthralling story. Thank you. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. And as promised, I said before that I would reveal to you my favorite story. Of course, like you, all the stories were my favorite. However, I love that sugarcane story. Yes. Wonderful, wonderful illustrations. It's not a competition, but you know, I just love sugarcane. So I have a bias to that story. Yes. So welcome back, guys. And that was a fantastic, you know, all the storytellers did immensely great, right? International, local, every storyteller in their own right was superb.
And as you mentioned that, Jerry, we want to acknowledge again our viewers on YouTube and on Facebook. And we want to thank you for your comments and remind you to continue tuning in throughout the festival.
And of course, click the subscribe button. Yeah. Click the like button on Facebook and subscribe. Share
and subscribe.
Right, because it will be still on those platforms. So the stories will continue forever in our memories, as Dr. Meek said. Thank you all. Right now, we're going to some big ups by Dr. Meek. She has some big ups. She has some people she has to big up especially, right? So Dr. Meeks, take it over. Your turn.
Thank you very much, Sean. Thank you very much, Mr. Jerry Neal. Thanks to everybody who joined us this afternoon. Thanks to all the sponsors, the NCB Foundation, the Rita Marley Foundation. I'm in trouble now. Mussons Foundation, somebody help me please. The Ministry of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sport. Thank you to all of the international storytellers. Thank you to Rampoon Radio. I want to say a special big up to the PR team, Gwyneth Harold, Alison Hall, Michael Record, I especially want to big up Anne Worm from Barbados for all the sleepless nights and days that she had working on the posters and putting the beautiful, beautiful videos together, which if we had a competition, she would have win, because we have had such beautiful, wonderful commendations on those videos. And thank you very much. Don't go yet. We have to tell you what's happening for the rest of the week. We come back on Thursday at the various times that you will see on the flyers. All the times are 2 o'clock Jamaica time, and we come back with a panel discussion about how we understand gender in our folklore. You know, the Ghanaians have a proverb that says, storytelling don't like idle talk, which means although we're laughing, and I'm going to give you a Jamaican proverb now, we not give laugh a piece. And also laugh where I laugh. There is a great deal of philosophy, of politics, of sociology in what we're saying. And so we want to look at our folklore through those eyes. How do we understand gender within the stories and what the stories can teach us about gender? And then when we come back Friday morning now at 10 o'clock, me I go launch me own a book. Yes, me have a book, a children's book, name, That's a Good Idea. And you can go now to www.tagipronancy.com and pre-order your copy. And the first 20 people to pre-order will get one of these beautiful posters which are behind me now. That's a good idea. Friday, of course, is National Storytelling Day in Jamaica, and the schools are going to be joining us at 12:30 through the kind collaboration of the Ministry of Education. We get to broadcast 1.5 hours of stories to the school. That means that the Ministry of Education knows that storytelling does not like idle talk. We have also sent out invitations to the schools in Cayman, the schools in Grenada, and I believe the schools, if not at least some of the children in Barbados. And already I'm getting ideas in my head about how we are going to keep that going, Ken. Wouldn't it be wonderful to have a collaboration between Anwarm and Tukuma and the Jamaica Library Service that trains our young people into storytelling? And wouldn't it be wonderful if we could also use this platform to say, hello, CARICOM, we want a regional storytelling festival. Ken, how is sounding? If you think it's sounding good, clap me. Yes, indeed. I think I sounding good, so I'm clapping myself. And then on Saturday, on Saturday at 2 o'clock, we're having an Anancy rerun, the brilliant idea of Anne from Barbados. So on Saturday, we are going to be looking at some of the highlights of this week's festival, but also looking at the journey that brought us here. Ken has been here, Michael has been here. Some of the tellers who have tuned in to today, who are not telling in this festival, have also been here. So you will see yourself in the rerun. On Sunday, we close with a discussion about reparation. Don't think we are just a skin with teeth for nothing, because our culture has been denigrated. We can't do nothing good. We can't please anybody. And so we want to look at culture as one aspect of the reparation. And to do that, we're going to be examining the history of Anancy, the image of Anancy. Nobody thinks that we're coming to present any university papers, because our parents who were great philosophers never present any university papers. So the papers are going to be via Anancy stories. When we tell the stories, what are we learning about Anancy? And it's going to be a courthouse. And I get to understand that nobody love courthouse better than Caribbean people. Them dress up, them put on them suede suit, and them little felt hat, and them two-tone shoes, and them diamond socks, and them circle skirt, and them come a court. Well, Sunday, you are invited to come into the courthouse. And all you things say, if you put a padlock on a bullfrog mouth, the witness cannot speak, you are going to be sadly mistaken because all these witnesses can speak. And that will be Sunday. Follow us on our various Facebook pages, the Jamaica Library Service Facebook page and YouTube channel. We'll definitely have the schedule. All the storytellers will be posting the schedule for the next day, the evening of, and so you can follow that as well. Thank you, everybody. If there is anybody who wants to say something, thank you. Now is your chance. We never say speak now or forever. Hold your peace, because tomorrow you can speak again. But is there anybody who wants to, who feels moved? You know, like when you go to church and the pastor say, I want a testimony. Anybody have a testimony? Yes, please, Hope. Unmute yourself, Hope.
Okay, good. Pleasant day to everyone, wherever you are. This was really an eye-opening experience.
Your video, please. I'm sorry, video, we can't see you.
Okay.
All right.
So good afternoon, everyone. Well, good afternoon here, but a pleasant day to you wherever you are in the world. This was really an eye-opening experience. Enjoyed it immensely, and it has inspired me as an educator to go back to the classroom and have my students have their own storytelling festivals, whether it be in the class or in the drama club or at home with their family and friends, wherever they may reside. So I want to thank all our sponsors, and again, thank Dr. Amina Blackwood for this opportunity, and encourage all of us. Let us have our own storytelling festivals as well. After this one has ended, let us have our own storytelling festivals, not just here, but in our homes, where we can encourage love and unity among our family and friends.
Thank you very much, Anne. So I'm looking to see every school having a storytelling festival that builds into next year's activity. You said something I wanted to lion back on, because we don't piggyback. We don't do that. We lion back. Yes, but through my head I walk now. When it come back tomorrow, I will be able to say what it is. Oh yes, I wanted to acknowledge all the kind comments in the chat. From Margaret, from Beryl, from Anne-Marie, from Michael, everybody, thank you very much. We acknowledge your encouragement and the fact that you found this to be a wonderful cross-cultural, me say, out there write university papers with big head word, man, cross-cultural experience and all those wonderful things. Anancy have gone a big word for speak, man, because Anancy have nothing in her head, you know. Thank you very much. When we close off, it's not because we have nothing else to say. It's in the interest of time. Thank you for those people like Hazel, who's a chef of Gono. All right, Hazel, we understand. Thank you so very much. I saw that Jean Small joined us towards the end. Thank you very much, Jean. Come back and see us, but don't go yet, because we want you to see the wonderful video, which is the promo for Sunday's activity.
Thank you very much.
Over to you, Mr. Technical Man.
They try to keep us down, scatter us all around to diverse parts of the earth, hoping we'd waste away. Check it next time, it shows it's the way we should be, all together in harmony. We're sailing in the same boat, we're rocking up the same stream. So no matter what they do, no matter what they say, all our Jaja children are going harambe, harambe. Hear what I say, harambe. Hear what I say, harambe. Can I let on change its spots? Jaja children, their skin. But say blood thicker than water. Love will take us further. So don't you feel no way? As I saw Jaja say, and no matter what they do, no matter what they say, all our Jaja children are the harambe, harambe. Hear what I say, harambe, harambe.
That was so delightful.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah.
See you on Thursday. Thanks, everybody.
Matondo.
I can't see who's speaking.
Oh, it's
but I'm
Sharon.
acknowledging. Thank you very much.
It was wonderful. Thank you for letting me be a part of this. It was really a delight. And I'm more delighted than I can even imagine. Really and truly. I've just been so totally tickled and tantalized and had a blast. Thank you for opening.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So please post the schedule on your own social media platforms and encourage your friends and family to join us on the YouTube and the Facebook channels. Yes. And the people who have my number and sending me that it was really great and them grandchild did enjoy it. And that now me make them late for other things. I know me is Anancy cause it. Yes, it's Harambe. H-A, Harambe. If you listen to the entire song by Rita Marley, you will hear her explain. It's a West African word. It means working together, pulling together. I want to get my telephone number, by the way, to be asking me all of these wonderful things. Yes, enjoyed what I could listen to. Thank you very much. Please spread the word. Something this good can't keep to yourself. Thank you. Can you pass your bedtime or New York on the same time? Thank you very much. Please come back on Thursday. See, we were good. We said 2 hours and we're just about 2 hours. So we won't trespass on the time. We've spent a significant amount of time ensuring that we keep the festival within the time limit that we ask you to give us some of your time. Thank you very much. I have to sit here, but you can lock off your thing. When the last person lock off, I will lock off. I can't lock you off. Thank you so very much. Thanks, everybody.